Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Jill. I make short commentaries where I slow things down and explore ideas like this, honestly, thoughtfully, and without rushing to an answer. Today, I want to look at two pieces of advice we hear all the time. Be authentic and read the room. Both sound wise. Both sound socially intelligent. But if you've ever tried to follow them at the same time, you may have noticed they don't always point in the same direction. Be authentic encourages honesty. It tells us to show up as ourselves. Not a performance, not a mask. The idea is that life feels more meaningful when we're genuine. When our words match what we actually think. When our behavior reflects who we really are. But then there's the other piece of advice. Read the room. This one is about awareness. It reminds us that we're not the only person inside the moment. There are other people present, other emotions, other expectations. Reading the room means noticing tone, timing, energy. It means recognizing that not every thought needs to be said immediately, or in exactly the form it first appears in your mind. And that's where the tension begins. Because sometimes the most authentic thing you could say is exactly the thing the room is not ready to hear. And that raises an interesting question. When we talk about authenticity, what do we actually mean? Do we mean saying whatever we feel in the moment? Or do we mean being honest about who we are over time? Because those two things are not always the same. A passing reaction can feel authentic in the moment, but that doesn't always mean it represents the deeper parts of who we are. Sometimes the most authentic thing about a person is actually their values, not their first impulse. Which means reading the room might not always be the opposite of authenticity. Sometimes it's the thing that helps protect it. Psychology actually has a concept that sits right in the middle of this tension. It's called self-monitoring. Self-monitoring describes how much we adjust our behavior based on the social environment around us. Some people are high self-monitors. They naturally read cues, tone, mood, expectations, and they adjust themselves to fit the situation. Other people are low self-monitors. They tend to express themselves more consistently, regardless of where they are or who they're with. Neither approach is automatically better, but each one carries a risk. High self monitors can become very good at navigating social situations, but sometimes, over time, they start to feel like the version of themselves that shows up depends entirely on the room. And that can lead to a quiet question. Which one of these versions is actually me? Low self-monitors often feel more internally consistent. They say what they think. They show up the same way everywhere. But sometimes that consistency can create uncomfortable moments. I once watched this happen in a group conversation. Someone asked for honest feedback about an idea they were excited about, and one person in the group gave it. Very directly, very honestly, no filters. You could feel the room shift almost immediately. The honesty was real, but the timing and the delivery landed hard. The conversation never quite recovered. It wasn't that authenticity was wrong, but it was a reminder that honesty doesn't exist in isolation. It lands somewhere. And most of us have experienced the other side too. Moments where we adjusted ourselves so carefully to the room that afterward we realized we hadn't said what we actually thought at all. Maybe it was a meeting, or a conversation with friends, or even a family gathering. You leave thinking, that didn't quite feel like me. Not because you lied, but because you quietly edited yourself again and again, until almost nothing personal was left. And this is where those two pieces of advice start to reveal what they're really protecting. Authenticity protects the self. It reminds us that our voice matters, that we're allowed to exist honestly in this world. Reading the room protects the relationship. It reminds us that our words land inside other people's experiences. So maybe the real skill is learning how to hold both of those responsibilities at once. Being yourself doesn't mean ignoring the room. And reading the room doesn't mean disappearing inside it. If this gave you something to think about, that's enough for today. Take care of your time. Take care of yourself. And thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.